There have been a few reasons why you as an enthusiast might not call the current Galaxy Ultra the best smartphone on the market. Maybe that's due to the battery situation, or its cameras not being right at the very top of the charts. But to the mainstream, this is basically as good as it gets. And perhaps it's just that, thanks to an incredibly comprehensive package of hardware and software. The Galaxy Ultra might on the very surface seem like a far cry from its humble beginnings, but when you dig a little deeper, there really isn't all that much that separates these two devices. The best phone of today is leaning on an ancient formula, and that's what I want to discuss in this video. Hey guys, I'm Ryan Thomas, and about 15 years ago, Samsung launched its Galaxy Note. The Galaxy family wasn't just composed of the S, there are actually several different models, including the J, the Y, and so on, and they all catered to a variety of different users based on wants and needs that might change. The Note really stood out as a big old thing with a stylus. I mean, even today, the original Galaxy Note is a proper chonker, especially in its width. It had a gigabyte of RAM, Exynos processor, hilariously on a 45nm process, which just seems crazy by today's standards, and a good old headphone port and microSD card slot with a removable battery. Ah, the good old days. But forgetting these particular specifications for a second, the idea of the phone was big screen, big battery, a stowaway stylus, and some of the best specs, cameras and screen tech that you could package into a smartphone. Something that sure was expensive, but it just had the works. The stowed-away stylus was not exactly a new concept. The Nintendo DS had, funnily enough, had that for around 6 or 7 years at this point, though that used a resistive touchscreen that almost feels mushy when you press on it, and it requires a level of pressure to activate where you can't just tap on the surface. The Galaxy Note was using, as became the standard for basically everything after that point, a capacitive screen, which Apple really brought to the mainstream a few years before. And that senses the current that changes when your finger touches the screen. That's how you're able to use it. You can use a conductive stylus to get that through your hand onto the screen as well, which means that the screens that you want to use a stylus on can still be made of glass and not plastic like the Nintendo DS. This was unique in a smartphone, but would enable greater precision than using just your finger and would allow you to sign documents and draw things. It had a 5.3-inch screen, which sounds tiny these days, but you got to remember this was a 10:16 panel, so it was squared off, it was wide, it was fat, and the bezels themselves were much larger as well. The Galaxy Note was a commercial success, with CNET's Roger Chang reporting that Samsung Electronics had sold 10 million copies in the first 9 months of release. So Samsung's Note formula was a smash hit, and it was just getting started. Its successor increased the display size, battery size, and doubled not only the CPU core count, but the RAM as well. This was almost like Samsung doubling down on the formula that it had set out with the original Galaxy Note, and it too sold well, hitting over 3 million units in just the first 40 days on sale. But the Galaxy Note 3 was arguably where Samsung really started to refine and improve its now established and revered Galaxy Note line. The now larger 5.7-inch screen also rocketed up in resolution to 1080p and 3 gigs of RAM, a 13-megapixel camera with now for the first time Ultra HD 4K video recording, which was massive. It also came with either a mix of a Snapdragon 800 or an Exynos 5420 SoC, just depending on your region, and this was a significant step up in quality across the board. And it was really felt and understood by consumers because it smashed 10 million units in the first 2 months of being on sale. The Note 3 was pretty massive. But perhaps the biggest upgrade was yet to happen, and actually when Samsung launched its Galaxy Note 4 and Note Edge, two devices that managed to level things up to an even crazier degree. The displays were now Quad HD instead of Full HD, with 16 megapixel cameras, way better S Pens than the original Note had. There were upgrades to chipsets, to storage queues, to selfie cameras. There was now wireless charging, and with the Edge, a curved section of display that allowed users a glimpse into the future of OLED and flexible OLED technology. There are enthusiasts that to this day believe the Galaxy Note 4 was the best generation ever made, and given Samsung sold 4.5 million units of the Note 4 in its first month, that seems to maybe check out as well. This was a time when smartphones were increasing in size generally, but also just improving a lot year on year, and its successor would mark a bit of a turning point for Samsung Mobile's image. The Note 5 was familiar yet different. It had a glow up. Gone was the flimsy plastic back, and in was a sealed glass and metal sandwich. This followed the design shift that we had previously seen with the very glamorous S6, S6 Edge, and of course S6 Edge Plus. The formula was again very much like what we had before though. A big Quad HD display, stylus included, big specs, big battery, and all with that familiar TouchWiz. The software had been labelled bloated and cumbersome for some time now, but it was still running even on this shiny new hardware. But the star of the show, and perhaps in the literal sense because it was just a big ball of flames, I'm of course talking about the Galaxy Note 7 and the FE that would try and alleviate the fiery problem, but still failed at that. This phone, on paper and in early reviews, was perhaps the best phone you could buy at that time. It was gorgeous, it was fast, big, the side bezels seemingly impossibly thin, and if this hadn't become a meme and a flight risk at one point in time, I truly believe this might have gone down as one of the very best smartphones ever made. I mean, it was just incredible. Before its worldwide recall, reports suggested it was outselling its predecessor already, but Samsung phones took a bit of a hit to their reputation after this one. The Galaxy Note 8 and Note 9 were some of the best follow-ups you could have asked for, with the latter having a bit of a cult following online actually. It's wonderfully comprehensive, it's a beautiful package, stunning design, software in Samsung experience that would eventually become One UI also helps things, and of course that massive display and powerful S Pen that One UI really utilised. It gave you the modern creature comforts of a glass and metal build, wireless charging, IP rating, USB-C, but it also retains the much loved microSD card slot and the headphone port. For me, the Note 9 was probably one of the best phones ever made. I mean, it's just crazy. The Galaxy Note 10 and Note 10 Plus though, contrastingly really weren't as loved. Sure, they looked impressive with their punch-hole cameras and impossibly slim bezels, but they also lost the headphone port, and the base model also dropped the microSD card slot, meaning you'd have to pony up a lot more money just to have expandable storage. Meh. The smaller model was a really strange one. It didn't seem to really fit into the whole product line whatsoever, as Samsung's Galaxy flagship line was really starting to become quite bloated with too much product saturation kicking in. The Note 20 series did improve things, with the Ultra in particular taking things to a new pinnacle, with practically zero bezels, a massive 108 megapixel camera, loads of RAM, loads of storage, and almost 7-inch corner-to-corner display. This at the time was the best phone you could buy, though the functional difference between the S20 Ultra and the Note 20 Ultra was really starting to narrow, with the stylus really being the deciding factor between the two. And reports suggest that sales figures had been slowly declining of the Note series in general anyway, which sort of made the inevitable happen. Samsung killed the Note line but kind of brought it back a year later with the S22 Ultra, and that formula was once reserved for the prestigious Note line, and now it was in the top flight S flagship. Samsung was refining its product stack at the top, and this would continue to this day, where we now have the S25 Ultra as the top shelf model, no Note in sight. However, that S25 Ultra has the big screen and the S Pen. We have fewer models in this generation than we had with the S10 and the Note 10 series, which makes for a far easier purchasing experience and a clearer distinction. It actually sounds like this could become even fewer if rumours are true, and the Edge will replace the S Plus next year. The phone that launched almost 15 years ago with a massive screen, huge spec sheet and a built-in stylus is the current S25 Ultra's however many more great grandfathers. And the crazy thing is that this formula, this basic concept, has remained practically identical for years. Big screen and a stylus. Not only is this Galaxy Ultra one of the most popular flagship models, but consumers seem to love it just as much as enthusiasts. Perhaps the GOAT of smartphone series, the Note/Ultra, really sits a cut above the rest, and what a journey it's been. Guys, which is your favourite generation of Note? Mine probably has to be the Note 9, followed by the S23 Ultra. Really love that thing. I had a Note 4, enjoyed that too, and I really wish I got to spend more time with the Note 7 because I honestly think that would have been my favourite of all time. Anyway, whilst you're down there in the comments, be sure to hit like if you enjoyed today's content and subscribe to never miss another upload on this YouTube channel. Thank you all so much for watching. I've been Ryan Thomas and I will catch you later. Cheers.